a teacher when I grow up. There are two things I want to be. A famous piano player and an artist. I want to be a dog trainer. I want to be a vet when I grow up, or someone that works in an aquarium. I want to take over my dad's advertising agency in Toronto. When I grow up, I want to be a dog breeder.
Can you remember what you wanted to be as a little kid? Well, I used to want to be a pilot, but as we get older, our career ideas change, and now I'm studying to go into television production. I'm John Rao. Have you ever wondered where you got your career ideas from? Chances are you were influenced by parents, teachers, and society as a whole, but by how much? Whether you're male or female has traditionally played a large part in what kind of career choices you have. In early childhood, we see the differences in the way both boys and girls are treated. In the past, this separation by gender has been conditioned, making it difficult for both men and women to be free to make career choices. There are many signs of changing attitudes, but labeling and discrimination still exist. We visited some high school students to find out how the next generation feels about these changes.
There's prejudices in all workplaces. Women get lower wages for doing the same job that men do in a lot of workplaces still. So there is still prejudice and bias, but I think it's changing. I know it's changing, obviously. And the number of women in workplace is growing. And I would be perfect. I mean, I've seen women in gas stations before, mechanics, that sort of thing. I think it's kind of neat, actually, because it is a male stereotype job.
See, that's such a phenomenon in our society that that jobs are designated to like this sex is basically, I don't know, is commanded by this job is commanded by this sex, etc., etc.
I like to see that there are males and female jobs, females and male jobs, that they're classified that way, because I think it just gives more freedom for everybody who's coming up after them.
Women and men are equal.
I think as long as a person qualifies for the job, anybody can do it, either male or female.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'd wanted to go get my car fixed, if it turned out to be a woman, I might be, I don't know, it might catch me by surprise, but I don't think it would sway my outcome of what my decision would be.
Here at Camosun College, attitudes are not only changing in the academic fields, but also in the previously male-dominated trades. I spoke with Jean Willow, coordinator of Women in Trades and Technology at the Interurban campus. When did women first enter trades at Camosun?
I'm not quite sure when the first woman came into the trades department. We've had women who have gotten their ticket as early as 1975. I think the big increase came in the late 70s and early 80s, if you can call it a big increase. At least we started having more than one woman in every class. So it just steadily increases every year, the amount of women that come in to these types of programs.
And how do you find the men feel about women taking these programs?
Generally, I think they're pretty good and pretty supportive. I think the attitudes, especially in the college, has changed quite a bit.
What kind of background do most of these women have?
Most of the women that come into trades programs have had some experience out in the workforce. They're usually not women who came right out of high school, although we do have a couple. Most women have been around. They've been secretaries, they've been housewives, they've been waitresses, been in traditional types of work, and they have found that they don't like it. They want to do something that's challenging, that they can do hands-on type of work, that they can see a finished project and say, hey, I did that, and feel good about their accomplishments. So there's more and more women wanting to check out and do that type of work.
What is the job market like for students after graduation?
Well, as you know, the construction industry has been booming in Victoria, so in the construction industries, I'd say the job potential is quite good. We still do have some discriminators as employers, and it's not something that's real obvious. So it's, they'll say they don't need anybody, meanwhile they'll hire the next guy that walks in, or things like that, but it's hard to pin down. So in that sense, a woman has to be really, she has to be persistent. If one guy turns it down, you don't give up. Or if a couple companies turn her down, don't give up. You go through the whole phone book, or you find out what employers, in fact, are more open-minded and try to get hired on by them. And I think the industry is changing a bit so that women are a little more welcome to the industry, but it's slow. And I think you can safely say that women do have a harder time finding work in the trades than the men do.
So do you find they have to overcome social obstacles? Are there a lot out there? Is that,
I think they do. If they're given the opportunity, what they have to do is prove themselves. And that's much more so than men do, I think. And that's one of the problems with the industry, because I think sometimes what happens when women are trying to prove themselves, they may injure themselves trying to do too much too fast. My suggestion is just go at it as any tradesperson would. Do your very best. Don't push yourself beyond safe limits. And my encouragement to men is to just be open-minded and help women get past the first barriers, because once they're in the industry for a while, they seem to get along with the men they work with, and it seems to go fine. It's that getting that first chance that's difficult.
Okay. How do you feel about the term non-traditional?
I try not to use the term. It's hard to classify these types of jobs, but I try to stay away from the term non-traditional because it sounds as if we don't belong there, like it's a man's world, and it's traditionally a man's world, and so therefore it's not for us. So I try not to use that term. I use the term trades or technology, and I think it's really important that women own their trade, that they see that this trade is for them, they belong there, and go for it.
What would you like to say to any women interested in taking trades?
My first thing would be research. Go out and talk to tradespeople, talk to tradeswomen. We have meetings with the Victoria Women in Trade Society. They can meet other women who are in the trades or technical areas, and they can find out what their jobs are like, what you need to know. My other suggestion would be to find out what the job market's going to be like when they're done with their education. I would say buy a few tools or have somebody show you how to use those tools safely. Get some experience with them. See how you feel using those tools. I think tools, because women haven't been taught how to use them through elementary school, junior high, high school a lot of times, there's sometimes some fear there. All I can say to women, you'll get over that fear pretty quickly. A lot of women don't have any fear of it. They pick it up and go for it. But you'll get over it when you've used the tools enough. You know how to use them safely. So research is the main thing.
What do you think the future's looking like for women in trade? Is it?
I think it's looking progressively better in terms of women going into the trades, and I also think that giving the amount of men who are retiring from the trades, which is there's supposed to be a fairly big turnover within the next 5 to 10 years, we're looking at a skill shortage of really trained tradespeople. So that's really a great thing for women to look at going in and being a skilled tradesperson, being able to fill the places of those people who are retiring. And hopefully the industry will become less and less discriminatory and open itself up to more women.
I have heard of women being doctors and a woman building a house.
I guess a lot of people would object to female carpenters or whatever on the grounds of their inability to perform the physical tasks, which I think is garbage. It's just a question of training. So really no problem. I think it's probably would be difficult for a woman to go into something like that given the ratio of men to women, but I don't think I'd feel badly about it. I'd probably be glad.
I caught up with Megan Wagner, a second-year carpentry student at the interurban campus.
I was introduced to woodwork in grade 10, and I found I really enjoyed it there. But I never took any other kind of woodwork or carpentry or anything until I was in a work program a few years ago, and we had to do community work projects. And one of the projects was to build a ski chalet from scratch, and so I worked for 3 months doing that, and I just loved it. I thought it was wonderful. So many rewards from being able to see what you've done every day, and I really find that I enjoy physical labor, manual labor. To me, it's not a job unless you work physically at it. It's wonderful. I love the smell of wood. I love to come here and work on the machines, and I have an eye for detail, so I kind of get a little bit too picky, I think, well, to others anyway. I don't find it is, but I haven't had any problems here. When I first moved here, I phoned quite a few places just out of the phone book, and I got a lot of answers. This one gentleman, he phoned me back, and he was just surprised actually that I had phoned, because I was the first woman that he'd ever had phoned to ask for a job. But no, they all were really open, and they all said that, you know, we don't discriminate. We have nothing against you. If you work well, then we'll hire you. Originally, I came here because I wanted to do renovations when I finished, more finishing work. But I've found that I enjoy the joinery part more. I don't really look forward too much to going outside and framing and doing that anymore. I would much prefer, if I could, to start making furniture. Not fine furniture, but cabinets, coffee tables, that kind of thing. Children's furniture I would like to do. Eventually, in the long range, what I would like to do is work from my home, to be able to work there. I find actually that I work better with men than I do with women. I don't know why. I guess more or less just because women they're more into their traditional jobs of, you know, secretaries or, you know, whatever they do, which doesn't interest me at all. I've always been more inclined to do the more non-traditional job. I actually worked on a couple of job sites before I started here at school, and I didn't find it a problem at all. It was great. It was they were really friendly. They were really accepting. You know, there was no big thing like they felt threatened by me or anything. This is what I've always really sort of wanted to do in the back of my mind. My dad's always been sort of jack of all trades, sort of been able to do a variety of different kinds of things, and I think I'm the only one in the family really that's taken after him in that regard. I have a brother and a sister as well, but they're not as handy. I like to do things my own. I don't like to have to rely on other people to like fix things for me. I like to think that I can do it. Well, fix my own car and fix my sink and that kind of stuff. Everybody's already got all these little jobs that they want me to do once I finish. So I should be busy if I can't find a job somewhere else, doing little odd jobs for other people. At school, I was not encouraged to take typing or, you know, that kind of thing. In Vancouver, I know that they have a program there where it's just carpentry for women only, and it's really quite busy. But I'm not sure in Victoria what it's like here. But in general, sure, in general, it's really increased the women in the carpentry trade. I would wholeheartedly encourage women to come and take carpentry or any trade. There's it's not so terrible, you know, as it once was, where you're, you know, harassed or intimidated by, you know. I guess it depends too a lot on how well you get along with men, you know, and you can how well you work with them, if you have before or not. Because some of the women here haven't ever done any carpentry, you know. They pretty much went from being a waitress to coming here. So I mean, it was a big change for them, but they have adapted well. And they really like the program. I think attitudes are changing for the men as well. I mean, it's not so much that we're, you know, trying to prove anything when we go to a job site. We just want to learn what they know, you know, and work alongside them. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be one of the boys sort of thing, you know. I mean, you still want to sort of keep your own identity, but you can still work together well.
I really care because people can do whatever they want to. It's not other people's choice what they should do. They have a right to do what they want to. I think it's okay that people can be what they want to be.
I visited with Jerry Sand, who is training to be an electrician at the interurban campus.
I always hung out with the boys, and I loved doing what boys did, and I basically left the dolls alone. You know, I'd play with them once in a while, but I enjoyed playing with the cars and getting dirty and running around climbing trees. And I was a real tomboy. Like, I remember that word being used a lot, was tomboy. And as I got older, I still enjoyed doing boy things too. And I had wanted to take automat class in grade 8, and it was shunned upon. Like, there was no way they were going to let me do it. They said, you know, you have to take sewing or you have to take cooking. And so I went with that rule. I have run across a few people that have been difficult, but they basically had to accept my presence, although I was a woman, and which was their main problem was that they couldn't deal with the idea that I was a woman electrician. And I just carried on and said, well, I'm sorry, you know, I'm here and I'm willing and able and capable to do the job. And he just said fine and walked away and carried on, which that was actually the only one incident, you know, like that happened, and that was fine. Actually, it's interesting the way my friends have reacted to my goal. I suppose that's what it is. They've been very supportive, and just very supportive. I don't know how, it's like having a cheering team on the side. My parents, my family are very supportive. I feel that I was brought up in as traditional a setting as could be at that point, but I was left with a lot of liberal growing. I was allowed to express myself and deal with things in a lot of ways that other girls weren't allowed to do. I think that's basically it. And it was by being raised by a father and 4 brothers and not really having that mother set figure there, it, I think, enhanced the whole idea. Basically have to be prepared that if you do get a hard time, it's not going to be the end of the day. It's not that everybody has that same view. And you just have to go enter in with that idea that you can go ahead and do it, even though somebody there might say you can't. There's a few bad apples, but what's a few bad apples? You pick them out and throw them out, you know? And you don't take them down to heart. You just carry on and do your stuff. Do what you got to do. Carry on. I am a single parent, and I am a self-supporting single parent. It makes it, I don't know, for Brody, that's my son's name, he says, my mom's an electrician. You know, like he came home from school one day and said, well, somebody asked me what my dad did, but I said, my mom's an electrician, and they kept telling me, no, your dad's an electrician. He said, no, my mom is. And he said, I got very angry. And I'm going, well, that's okay, you know, if they don't believe you or whatever, but you know it. And he goes, yeah, and I think it's okay. I don't know, he has an idea aspect of it. He thinks it's good.
Not only are women going into trades, but men also are training for such fields as nursing and office careers at Camosun.
I think people have a right to be what they want to be, and if a man wants to be a nurse or a woman wants to be a construction worker or something, I think that's their prerogative.
I'll admit that when I hear, oh, a male nurse, it doesn't pass over my head as easily as a female nurse would.
My mom's a nurse, and she talks all the time about male nurses, and like I have no qualms with them. I didn't even come to mind when she'd come home talking about how few there are. And I don't see why it is a female-dominated thing, because you know, it's a pretty big job. I mean, it should be done by everybody. I mean, I wouldn't have any hesitation to a male nurse checking me in.
Well, the word nurse has been like, you know, you open up a baby book and you look in and you see a woman with a hat with a big red cross on the top of it, and that's how it's been since we've been born. And I think in the next generations to come, children will grow up to respect both men and women to be people like nurses or secretaries.
I spoke with Daniel Amer, a second-year nursing student at the Lansdowne campus.
I got interested in nursing through an orientation session that's offered by Camosun College. So I came to the orientation session, and I found out about the nursing program, and this is how I got interested. Plus some encouragement from my wife because she's also a nurse. I have a lot of support from my family, and this is the key issue here. If you don't have a support from the family, it's very hard to survive the program because you do need that support in order to finish the program because it's demanding and do require a lot of work. The reactions is very positive, and the accepting to be looked after by male nurses. It's no different from a female nurse this time. So I guess because of more education or more information available for these people to know that male nurses are getting into this profession. So I don't think it's a shock for them to see a male nurse there. But you have situations where some are not open about it. That's all. I have run into an awkward situation once, I think, so a male patient that he accepted me looking after him. On the other hand, he was asking questions. I do remember, such as, "Are you married?" and things like this. I think he was implying to see whether I was a gay or not. You know, I mean, this is. You have to answer it with a smile because you know where he's going. But you do explain to him that this profession is for both male and female, and basically education. You have to educate these people to, you know, make them understand at least, or just show them, you know, what the profession is all about. That's all. I have a few situations where that patients thought that I was a doctor just because I was a male, and I had to do a lot of explaining to actually convince them that I was not a doctor. In their minds, that doctor is always is a male. It's not a female. So they don't think of male nurses as nurses. They think of them as really doctors, and we have to do a lot of explaining. But generally they accept it, and then we go on. My plans after graduation is, first of all, to find a job, and I don't think it's going to be hard due to the shortage of nursing. I wish to stay in British Columbia if possible, but if not, I'll probably find work somewhere else. I would like to encourage people that are interested in the program to go ahead with it, because it's a really great program, and it's just perception, and it's actually a false perceptions about this profession being for females only, and actually it's not, and I find it to be a very enjoyable profession and very satisfying, and I hope that whoever is thinking about coming into the program to go for it.
No, I would have no problem with a male secretary at all.
It's just a normal job. A secretary is something that anybody can do. It's not something that a woman's fingers are meant to type or anything like that. It's just something that anyone can do.
Keith McDonald is taking the Office Careers program at the Carey Road campus.
Office careers, it's really hard to sort of label that as one thing. It covers such a gamut, everything from good written and communication skills, good personal effectiveness skills, good computer skills. It really covers such a wide range. I guess basically it's teaching and training people how to work in the workplace, both with computers and with your fellow workers, co-workers and supervisors in the most efficient manner. There are 5 other men in the program, which is quite interesting because you're usually outnumbered 10 to 1 by females, which there's nothing wrong with that. So usually I'm the only male in the class, or there's 1 or 2 other of us, and that's it. My friends have reacted very positively to my career choices because they realize that the information is the big thing in the 90s, gathering information, collecting information into the 21st century. So they have reacted very positively to the fact that I'm taking this course at Camosun. It's really interesting when people don't ever ask me about the office work aspect of it. They always ask me about the computer end, like, what are you taking? Oh, DBase, oh, Lotus, oh, WordPerfect. That's exciting, that's interesting. I don't think they're thinking so much of the fact that I'm going to be getting coffee for people. I think they're thinking I'm going to be working on computers full time. They find that really exciting. I think the job market is very encouraging. I constantly am looking at the want ads in the Times Colonist and the Vancouver Sun, and there's always somebody looking for somebody with office skills in either city. So I'm feeling pretty secure that I will have full-time employment once I get out of the program. Well, I think employers now are looking for whoever does the best job. I don't think there's any more classification of a man does this kind of job and a woman does this kind of job, because there's a lot of women at Camosun College who are taking metalwork or woodworking, and I don't think there's that kind of status anymore that men can do this job and women can do that job. I think they're looking at who does the best job and most efficiently. I think the typical scenario people have as secretaries is that they sit at an office desk, drink coffee, type a few letters for the boss, and that's it, they go home. And that's wrong, that's outdated. The typical secretary of today, whether male or female, has a variety of tasks they may be called upon to do. A WordPerfect document, a DBase, a Lotus document, and they'll have to do them in the most effective and efficient manner possible. And at the same time, I think they have to have good personality skills, or good personal effectiveness skills, I should say, because they really represent an office or a corporation. They're the first person anybody meets when they come in the building, so they have to have all the skills, both people and work-wise. And I think today's office environment is that. I would encourage anyone to take the Office Careers program. I think it is a good foundation for anyone that wants to pursue more computers, whether here at Camosun College or any other educational institute. And it's only a year-long program, and I think you come out of it with a good basic foundation of what is really needed in the office environment of the 1990s.
Society is changing, and I hope this edition of Camosun Today has reflected those changes. Join us next week on Camosun Today when we take a look at non-credit special interest courses. Camosun Today is produced by students in the Applied Communication Program. Write us, care of Group B, Applied Communication Program, 3100 Foul Bay Road, Victoria, BC.
If just men worked at a place, it would be boring.